These are really special people. And recognition is good for everybody.
And the winner is?
Welcome, Antony, and thank you so much for speaking with me today. It's a real pleasure to see you again, and I really love the background. I have to say, was that custom made?
It has been, yes. So we're into our brand, and we find a lot of our staff actually who are working from home, and there's a fair chunk are. They might not want to show their house or their, and therefore they come up with blurring or other ones, and we gave them the chance to use our own.
It's fantastic. So on that note, talking about your colleagues and your organisation, how has your organisation and your colleagues been coping with COVID this past year?
It's been, be lying to say, and I think like most of the country, I think, but most of the NHS care workers and key workers, it's been an unprecedented challenge. I mean, that's an overused word, isn't it? But absolutely unprecedented. And we're used to dealing with issues and incidents, but something that goes on for this period of time and with this level of challenge is just something we're not used to at all. I think I'm very proud of the response that the NHS care services and key workers have made. And I would say this, wouldn't I, but the London Ambulance Service too. I mean, the numbers, if we look at it, so, on a really busy day, we would expect 5,500 calls. So that's a really busy day. We were taking 11,000 calls, so double the number of calls to our 999 services. Just overwhelming numbers really, and it happened very quickly. I think obviously, as an NHS body, London Ambulance Service has a lot of plans in place and how it responds generally to incidents, and you'll know that over the years, whether that's responding to a terror attack or responding to other types of incidents of different lengths, we're well prepared, and we have to be, and that's the nature of the beast. So those sort of plans kick in. We'd obviously were aware from January time that COVID was coming. So during January, February, we were planning and put in place measures to be able to respond. Even then, though, I think, being very honest, it was to another level that I think even anyone could have predicted. Our response, I'd say, very impressed with what we've done. Now you look back on it a year later, everything from bringing in partner organisations who've worked alongside us. So the London Fire Brigade, we've had hundreds of their staff driving ambulances, so therefore we could spread out the number of clinicians we have across additional ambulances that we brought in to respond, and we brought in hundreds of extra ambulances to be able to respond to the calls. We've also received in the second wave support from the Metropolitan Police, who've been driving ambulances in a similar way to the London Fire Brigade. We've also received support from other ambulance services and great support from our own volunteers. So we have a number of emergency responders and community first responders who've really stepped up to provide that additional support to our teams. We've done things a bit differently as well, which has been great and allowed us to work more efficiently, quicker, better. Some of those are challenging for our staff. So one example is we have roughly 70 ambulance stations across London. We have consolidated down to 40, just over 40 stations for COVID, which means that we can ensure that we've got management support on the stations for our staff, bringing in students who are taking, so student paramedics who are taking calls in our 999. We built over a weekend, we built a whole new 999 call handling facility, which allowed us to have extra people in taking those calls. So, and it's endless. The things that we've done have been endless. I think one of the ones that stand out, just slightly more unique. Again, the challenge, we've got over 500 ambulances on the road. We need to keep them on the road, but ambulances, like any vehicle, are liable to break down, are liable to needing servicing and stuff like that. So partnering our fleet team, we brought in the AA, who allowed us to run a 24/7 operation. So the minute something needed servicing or the minute something had a problem, we could get it back on the road ASAP, and therefore staffing those ambulances as they're rolling out. So yeah, I think just the range of things that we've done. So I suppose come back to the question, how have we coped? I think admirably, but it's been a massive pressure on staff and volunteers, and it's a pressure that's lasted a year. And without doubt, it's going to have a long-term impact on the health and well-being of our staff. We're doing a lot to support them.
It's incredible how many changes you've implemented in the here and now. But as you said, long-term, have the organisation started to think about the long-term needs of the ambulance staff?
Yeah, we have. We've been looking, and as an ambulance service with staff going out and seeing and witnessing difficult things on a day-to-day basis, we have to ensure that we have robust measures and support in place constantly. So that has been there, but we've ramped up a lot of support for staff during COVID. So I can give you some examples of that. So we have launched a dedicated wellbeing hub. So 7 days a week, I think it's from something like 8 in the morning to 11 at night. There's a dedicated wellbeing hub staffed by wellbeing advisors to support staff. We've been running, and often 24/7, what we call T-trucks, providing that support to our colleagues. And I'm really proud, actually, this is part of the partnerships of the NHS, and to be able to acknowledge his work. Some of that work has been funded by Captain Tom. So we know he raised a lot of money. So we've received via NHS Charities Together a fair whack of money to support us doing that. That's £100,000 they gave us. That this isn't going to be something that we take our foot off the pedal in terms of that welfare and wellbeing support, and that higher level we put in place is going to have to remain. Our staff have seen things over the last year that they've never seen before. They're used to seeing challenge and tragedy, but not to the level that they have. So we're going to need to support them, and they're doing that at a time when in their own lives a lot's going on too. All of that, the care provided by anyone in London Ambulance Service, in the NHS care services, or key workers, is balanced with doing that job, and then balanced with actually your own life and trying to think what's going on there whilst you're trying to do that day job. So yeah, a lot of support needed going forward too.
Just sounds incredible how much work and thought has been put into sort of re-establishing the ambulance service in terms of how you fundamentally operate. You must have some stories of some unsung heroes, and especially those in a non-medical or non-clinical role. Is there any one or two stories that just spring to mind? Gosh,
so many stories. If I just look at my own teams, so the communication engagement team, if I was to look at our press office team, they're literally 24 hours a day responding to calls from the media. They've gone above and beyond. As well as our education team, which is part of my portfolio, include clinicians who are non-patient facing clinicians. So in effect, they are clinicians who do training, or they're clinicians who do education work. And as part of COVID in our response, those jobs stop and they go back to the front line. So it's those people, I think, in a way, I would say were unsung heroes as well. Those staff in support roles, the unsung heroes as we call them, has never been more important. And 9 calls coming in or whatever are all supported by these support teams. So the fleet team working alongside the AA, or the IT team making sure that those calls and the telephones are operating, or the vehicle preparation team, the people that go in and clean the ambulances and get there, and the procurement team have helped us, all of those things. The people and culture team, the HR team. It's just been amazing, absolutely amazing. I think every team. I think one role that stands out to me during these tragic times has been something we call the family liaison officer. And these can be clinical and support staff, but basically where you lose a member of staff or a volunteer who's died during COVID, and we lost a number of colleagues sadly as a result of COVID, and also a number of colleagues during the year. And we have family liaisons officers who are appointed, and they support the family through that tragic time to make sure that they have what they need. And those people really stepped up during a really challenging time to support those families. And it's not a role people know exists, I think, and they do it as part of their day job, because it's really hard. And I think it's been particularly hard this year because part of their role is to work with the family, but the family are then having limited funerals where colleagues can't be involved, and they support the colleagues as well. So as a lot of people have had to have a very different, funeral.
Yeah, I imagine that's the kind of role that we may receive more nominations for this year, because it's a role that's been brought more into the foreground. Talking about the awards, you've been involved since 2018, I believe. So good 3 years it would be. Just a few thoughts or a few words on the awards and what they mean to you.
I think they're so important, and actually ever more now after the last year. We can't celebrate our frontline colleagues enough. We can't, and no amount of awards will ever acknowledge what they have done and what they've seen and what they will in many ways live with for the rest of their lives. And absolutely, I think in parallel to that, our support colleagues, the Unsung Heroes, have really stepped up. And without them, those frontline colleagues can't do their job. They can't answer the 999 calls. They can't answer the 111 calls. They can't get on the ambulances. So it's ever more important that we celebrate those unsung heroes, and that is such a wide mix of people. But I don't use this word lightly, but they are the backbone of the NHS. They are the backbone of our social care services. Those support roles are fundamental too.
That's very true, and thank you very much. That's a great endorsement of what we've done actually since 2015, which is not always well known actually. But yeah, on that note, I know you're extremely busy, so I'll let you get back to your job, and thank you very much. I look forward to your continuing involvement with the awards this year. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura. You look after yourself.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye now. Bye.
Bye bye.
These are really special people. And recognition is good for everybody.